Have you ever reached a moment where you looked around your life and quietly wondered, God, where are you? Not because you stopped believing, but because the weight on your shoulders became heavier than the strength in your heart. Maybe you've prayed for healing. Maybe you've prayed for direction. Maybe you've prayed for someone you love. Yet the answers haven't come the way you expected. Days turned into weeks. Weeks became months. And somewhere along the journey, your faith began to feel smaller than your fears. If that's where you are today, I want you to know something. You're not weak, you're not forgotten, and you're certainly not alone. Every person who has ever lived a life of faith has faced moments of uncertainty. Faith isn't believing because everything is going well. Faith is believing even when life doesn't make sense. It's choosing hope when disappointment is knocking at your door. It's taking another step forward when you can't even see the road ahead. That's the kind of faith that changes everything. Not because faith magically removes every problem overnight, but because it changes the person walking through those problems. Think about a lighthouse standing beside a stormy ocean. The waves crash against the rocks. The wind howls through the darkness. Rain falls without mercy, yet the lighthouse never argues with the storm. It doesn't try to stop the wind, it simply continues shining. Its purpose isn't to control the storm. Its purpose is to guide people safely through it. Faith works the same way. It doesn't promise a life without storms. It gives you light while you're walking through them. And sometimes, that light is all you need for the next step. Maybe today you don't need every answer. Maybe you only need enough hope to keep moving forward. One step, one prayer, one day at a time. Because that's often how God works. He rarely shows us the entire journey. Instead, He gives us enough light for today's path, and tomorrow, He provides light again. The world often tells us that strength means never crying, never struggling, never feeling afraid. But real strength looks very different. Real strength is whispering a prayer when your voice is shaking. Real strength is getting out of bed when yesterday nearly broke you. Real strength is believing that your story isn't over, even when every circumstance tries to convince you otherwise. If you've been carrying silent burdens, take a slow breath. You don't have to carry them alone. Faith doesn't mean pretending you're okay. Faith means bringing your honest heart before God. You don't have to hide your questions. You don't have to hide your tears. He already knows them. And still, His love remains. Have you ever noticed how trees become stronger after surviving storms? The wind doesn't destroy every tree. Sometimes it forces the roots to grow deeper. The branches learn to bend instead of break. The tree becomes stronger because of what it survived. Maybe that's what's happening in your life right now. Maybe this season isn't here to destroy your faith. Maybe it's strengthening it. Maybe God is growing roots inside you that will hold you steady in seasons you've never imagined. Right now, it may feel uncomfortable. Growth usually does. But one day you'll look back and realize you became stronger than you ever thought possible. Not because life became easier, but because your faith became deeper. There are people listening to this message today who are smiling on the outside, while quietly falling apart on the inside. If that's you, please hear these words. You don't have to pretend anymore. God isn't asking you to perform. He isn't asking you to have perfect answers. He's simply inviting you to trust Him with today. Not next year, not 10 years from now. Today, because today's faith creates tomorrow's courage. One small prayer today can become the beginning of an entirely different future. Sometimes we underestimate small acts of faith, a simple prayer, a kind word, a forgiving heart, a decision not to quit. These moments seem ordinary, but over time, they shape extraordinary lives. Faith grows quietly, almost invisibly, just like a tiny seed beneath the soil. For weeks, nothing appears to happen. No flowers, no fruit, no visible change. Yet beneath the surface, life is already beginning. Roots are spreading, strength is forming. The future is being prepared, Your life may feel exactly like that seed today. You don't see progress. You don't feel different. You wonder if your prayers matter. But beneath the surface, God may already be doing work your eyes cannot yet recognize. Don't measure your future only by what you see today. Some of God's greatest work happens in places we cannot see. If this message is encouraging your heart, take a moment to leave "I choose faith" in the comments. Your words might remind someone else that they're not walking this journey alone. And if messages like these bring peace to your day, consider subscribing and becoming part of this growing community of people choosing hope, faith, and encouragement together. Remember, your life is not defined by one difficult season. It is not defined by one unanswered prayer. It is not defined by one painful chapter. Your story is still unfolding. And sometimes, the chapters that begin with the greatest uncertainty become the ones filled with the greatest purpose. So don't lose heart. Don't allow temporary circumstances to convince you that permanent hope has disappeared. Because faith has always been about seeing beyond the moment you're living in. Even when you cannot see tomorrow, you can still trust the one who already does. And perhaps today, that single decision to trust again will become the first step toward a life you never imagined possible. Have you ever noticed that some of the most important moments in life happen quietly? The sun rises without making a sound. A child grows one day at a time without anyone noticing the change. A tiny seed transforms into a mighty tree beneath the soil long before anyone sees its branches. The greatest miracles often begin in silence. Perhaps that's why the quiet seasons of life can feel so confusing. You pray, and heaven seems silent. You wait, and nothing appears to change. You keep believing, yet every day looks exactly like the one before it. It's easy to wonder if God is listening, but silence does not mean distance, and waiting does not mean abandonment. Sometimes the silence you're experiencing isn't the absence of God's presence. It's the place where your faith learns to breathe. Think about an artist standing before a blank canvas. At first glance, it looks empty, but the artist already sees the masterpiece. Every brushstroke has a purpose. Every color has its place. Even the moments that seem meaningless are preparing something beautiful. God sees your life the same way. You may only see today's unfinished picture, but He sees the completed masterpiece. That's why faith asks us to trust the artist, even when we don't understand the painting. Maybe you've asked yourself, why is this taking so long? It's a question almost everyone asks at some point. We live in a world where everything happens instantly. Messages arrive in seconds. Food is delivered within minutes. Answers are only a search away. But the deepest things in life have never grown instantly. Character takes time. Wisdom takes time. Healing takes time. Trust takes time. And sometimes, faith takes time too. There is a quiet beauty in learning to wait without losing hope. Waiting teaches us that our peace doesn't have to depend on perfect circumstances. It reminds us that God is just as present in the waiting room as He is on the mountaintop. Many people believe faith is only about celebrating miracles. But often, faith is choosing gratitude before the miracle arrives. It's saying, I don't understand everything right now, but I still believe you are good. Those words carry incredible power, not because they force God to act, but because they transform your own heart. A grateful heart begins to notice blessings that fear often hides. The warmth of sunlight on your face, the laughter of someone you love, the strength to keep going one more day, the quiet peace that arrives in the middle of uncertainty. These are reminders that God has never stopped caring for you. Sometimes we're so focused on the door that hasn't opened that we forget to thank God for the doors already standing open. The air in your lungs, the heartbeat in your chest, the people who still believe in you, the opportunity to begin again today. These gifts may seem ordinary, but they are extraordinary when viewed through the eyes of faith. Perhaps today isn't about receiving something new. Perhaps it's about recognizing what has already been placed in your life. When gratitude grows, hope grows beside it. And where hope grows, faith becomes stronger. Life has a way of testing what we truly believe. It's easy to trust when everything is going according to plan. It's much harder when the path disappears beneath your feet. Yet those are the moments that reveal the strength of your foundation. Imagine building a house. No one admires the foundation. Visitors compliment the windows, the design, the beautiful rooms. Almost no one talks about what lies beneath the ground. Yet without a strong foundation, everything eventually collapses. Faith is the unseen foundation of your life. People may never notice it, but it quietly holds everything together. Every prayer strengthens another layer. Every act of forgiveness adds another stone. Every decision to choose hope instead of despair makes that foundation even stronger. One day, the storms will come. Not because you've done something wrong, but because storms visit every life. When they arrive, the strength you've been building in silence will become visible. You'll discover that your faith has carried you farther than you ever imagined. And you'll realize something beautiful. God wasn't delaying your journey. He was strengthening your foundation. There may be someone listening right now who feels exhausted, not physically, but emotionally. You've been carrying responsibilities that no one else sees. You've been encouraging everyone around you while quietly wondering who will encourage you. If that's your story, this is your reminder. God sees the sacrifices nobody applauds. He notices every quiet act of kindness, every unseen prayer, every moment you chose love instead of bitterness. Nothing done with faith is ever wasted. Even when nobody else notices, He does. You may never fully understand how one small act of faith changes another person's life. A smile, a gentle word, a patient response, a helping hand. These moments create ripples that travel farther than we can measure. Perhaps someone will find hope because you chose compassion today. Perhaps an entire family will be changed because you refused to give up. Faith often works through ordinary people doing ordinary things with extraordinary love. If these words have encouraged your heart, leave "God is my strength" in the comments. Someone reading those words today may discover the encouragement they've been praying for. And if these messages continue to strengthen your walk with God, consider subscribing so this community can keep sharing hope with people who need it most. Remember this: you don't have to know every answer before taking the next faithful step. You only need enough courage to trust that God is already waiting where your next step will land. That's the quiet confidence that changes everything. And it's the kind of faith that no storm can ever take away. There comes a moment in every person's life when they realize that faith is not about having every answer. It's about having the courage to keep walking even when the answers haven't arrived yet. Think about how many times you've worried about tomorrow. How many nights you've stayed awake imagining every possible outcome. How many hours you've spent trying to solve problems that were completely outside your control. We've all been there. We want certainty. We want guarantees. We want to know exactly how everything will work out. But life rarely unfolds that way. Instead, it invites us into something deeper: trust. Trust is one of the greatest expressions of faith, not because it's easy, but because it requires surrender. And surrender isn't weakness. It's recognizing that there are things beyond our understanding. Imagine you're hiking through a dense forest just before sunrise. The path ahead is hidden in darkness. You can't see the end of the trail. You don't know what's around the next corner. But with every step, the morning light grows a little brighter. Little by little, the path becomes clear. That's how God often leads us, not with a spotlight showing the entire journey, but with enough light for the next faithful step. If He revealed every detail of your future today, you might become overwhelmed. Instead, He invites you to walk with Him one day at a time. There is peace in living one day at a time. Yesterday cannot be changed. Tomorrow has not yet arrived. But today is a gift. Today is another opportunity to trust, another opportunity to forgive, another opportunity to choose hope over fear. Don't allow tomorrow's worries to steal today's peace. The future belongs to God. Your responsibility is today's faith. Perhaps you've made mistakes that still haunt your thoughts. Maybe there are decisions you wish you could undo, words you wish you had never spoken, opportunities you wish you had never missed. Nothing is too broken for His love. Nothing is too far beyond His reach. Even now, as you listen to these words, your future is still being written. You are not trapped by yesterday. You are not limited by your past. You are not disqualified because life has been difficult. Faith says, "My best chapter may still be ahead." That's not wishful thinking. That's hope rooted in God's unchanging character. Life will continue to bring challenges, unexpected disappointments, moments of uncertainty, days when you feel strong, and days when you don't. But faith gives you something the world cannot offer: an anchor. Ships need anchors, not because the ocean is calm, but because storms are inevitable. Without an anchor, the waves decide where the ship will go. With an anchor, the storm may continue, but the ship remains secure. God becomes that anchor for the heart that chooses to trust Him. Circumstances may change, emotions may rise and fall, people may come and go, but His faithfulness remains constant. When everything around you feels uncertain, hold tightly to what never changes: His love, His mercy, His presence. These are the anchors that keep your soul steady. Have you ever looked back at a difficult season and realized, "It made me stronger than I knew"? At the time, you thought you were falling apart. Now you realize you were actually growing. Growth often feels uncomfortable while it's happening. A seed must break open before it becomes a tree. Gold must pass through fire before it shines. A diamond forms under pressure. And faith often becomes strongest after it's been tested. So don't resent every difficult season. Some seasons are preparing you for responsibilities you've been praying for. Others are shaping your character in ways success never could. One day, you'll thank God not only for the blessings He gave, but also for the lessons He lovingly allowed, because both help shape the person you're becoming. If these words have spoken to your heart today, leave "I will keep trusting" in the comments. Your declaration of faith may become someone else's reminder to keep believing. And if messages like these encourage you to grow closer to God each day, consider subscribing and joining this community as we continue to share hope, peace, and encouragement with people around the world. Always remember, faith doesn't promise that every road will be easy. It promises that no road has to be walked alone. And sometimes, that single truth is enough to keep moving forward with confidence, peace, and hope. The peace that comes from trusting God. Have you ever noticed that the greatest gift faith gives us isn't always an immediate solution? Sometimes it's peace. A peace that doesn't always make sense. A peace that remains even when life feels uncertain. The world often tells us that peace comes after every problem is solved. But faith teaches something very different. Peace begins the moment you place your worries into God's hands. Imagine carrying a backpack filled with heavy stones. At first, you think you can manage it, but as the hours pass, each step becomes more exhausting. Your shoulders ache, your energy fades. Eventually, you realize the burden was never meant to be carried alone. Many people live exactly this way. They carry yesterday's regrets, today's worries, tomorrow's fears, all at the same time. No wonder they feel exhausted. Faith invites us to set those burdens down, not because the challenges disappear overnight, but because God is willing to carry what was never meant to crush your heart. That doesn't mean you'll never face difficult days. It means you no longer have to face them by yourself. There is a quiet strength that grows inside a person who has learned to trust God. It doesn't always show itself through loud words. Often, It appears through calm decisions, patient hearts, gentle responses, and steady hope. When everyone else is overwhelmed by panic, faith whispers, "Take another breath." God is still with you. When uncertainty fills the room, faith quietly reminds you, you don't know what tomorrow holds, but you know who holds tomorrow. Those simple truths have carried countless people through seasons they never imagined surviving. Maybe today you're standing at a crossroads. A decision has to be made. A relationship feels uncertain. Your future seems unclear, and you're afraid of making the wrong choice. If that's where you are, don't let fear become your guide. Fear usually demands immediate answers. Faith teaches patient wisdom. Sometimes the most courageous decision is to pause, pray, reflect, and trust that clarity will come at the right time. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every closed door is a loss. Some closed doors protect you from paths that would have stolen your peace. One day, you'll look back and thank God for the prayers He answered, and perhaps even more for the ones He lovingly answered differently than you expected. His perspective reaches far beyond what our eyes can see. Think about the sky after a storm. Clouds slowly begin to separate. Sunlight gently breaks through. The world hasn't changed in a single instant, but the light reminds you that darkness was never permanent. Hope works the same way. Even the smallest glimpse of hope has the power to change how you walk through the day. Faith doesn't ignore reality. It simply refuses to believe that today's struggle is the end of the story. That's why people with deep faith often continue smiling in difficult seasons. Not because life is perfect, but because their confidence isn't built on perfect circumstances. It's built on God's unchanging love. And love like that creates courage. Courage to forgive. Courage to begin again. Courage to keep believing after disappointment. Courage to remain kind in a world that often chooses anger. Those quiet choices become powerful testimonies, not because they attract attention, but because they reflect the character God is shaping within you. You may never realize how many lives your quiet faith is touching. Someone is watching how you respond to hardship. Someone is learning from your patience. Someone is finding hope because you refuse to give up. Your faith speaks even when your words are few. Never underestimate the influence of a peaceful heart. One calm voice can settle an anxious room. One act of kindness can restore someone's hope. One faithful decision can inspire generations. God often changes the world through ordinary people who simply choose to trust Him each day. If this message has brought peace to your heart, write "God, I trust you" in the comments. Your words may become the encouragement someone else needed today. And if messages like these continue to strengthen your faith, consider subscribing and becoming part of this community where we choose hope over fear, peace over worry, and faith over doubt. As you continue your journey, remember this simple truth. You don't have to carry every burden. You don't have to solve every mystery. You don't have to have every answer. Sometimes, the greatest step of faith is simply placing your heart in God's hands and believing that His love is already working in ways you cannot yet see. And that kind of faith can truly change everything. There comes a moment in every journey of faith when you realize something remarkable. You've spent so much time asking God to bless your plans that you forgot to ask if your plans were leading you where He wanted you to go. It's an easy mistake to make. We all dream. We all make plans. We all imagine what our future should look like. There's nothing wrong with that. Dreams are beautiful. Goals are important. But faith reminds us that the safest place isn't always where our own plans take us. The safest place is wherever God's wisdom is leading us. Sometimes we think surrender means losing control. But in reality, surrender means placing your life into hands that are wiser than your own. Imagine a child learning to ride a bicycle. At first, they grip the handlebars tightly. Every bump feels frightening. Every turn seems dangerous. but a loving parent walks beside them, holding the seat, offering guidance, giving confidence. Eventually, the child realizes, I was never riding alone. Life often feels like that. There are moments when we believe everything depends on us. Every decision, every outcome, every success, every failure. But faith gently reminds us that God has been walking beside us all along. Even during the moments when we couldn't feel His presence, even during the nights when our prayers felt unanswered. He never stopped watching over us, and He never stopped loving us. One of the greatest obstacles to faith is the desire to control everything. We want to know exactly how every situation will unfold. We want certainty before taking the first step. But that's rarely how life works. Faith often begins where certainty ends. It asks us to trust even when we don't have every detail. Think about a pilot flying through thick clouds. For a time, the horizon disappears. The destination cannot be seen. The pilot doesn't rely only on eyesight. He trusts the instruments that guide him safely through the clouds. Faith works in much the same way. There will be seasons when your emotions tell you one thing. Fear may tell you to quit. Doubt may tell you nothing will ever improve. Discouragement may convince you that you've come too far to begin again. But faith reminds you to trust God's truth more than temporary emotions. Because emotions change, God's character does not. When you choose faith over fear, you're not denying reality. You're simply refusing to let fear become the loudest voice in your life. That choice changes everything. There will always be voices competing for your attention. Some will tell you you're not enough. Some will remind you of your past. Others will predict failure before you've even begun. But God's voice speaks differently. His voice reminds you that your value isn't measured by success. Your worth isn't determined by the opinions of others. Your identity isn't found in your mistakes. You are deeply loved. You are created with purpose, and every new day is another opportunity to live with courage. What would happen if you truly believed that? How would your life change if you stopped living from fear and started living from faith? Perhaps you'd forgive more quickly. Perhaps you'd worry a little less. Perhaps you'd take the first step toward a dream you've been afraid to pursue. Perhaps you'd finally believe that your life still has incredible purpose. Faith has a remarkable way of opening doors inside our hearts, long before it opens doors around us. First, it changes how we think. Then, it changes how we live. Eventually, it changes the people around us. Hope is contagious. Kindness is contagious. Peace is contagious. And so is faith. One person choosing to trust God can inspire an entire family. One faithful parent can influence generations. One encouraging conversation can completely change someone's future. Never underestimate the impact of living a life grounded in faith. The world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs more people who quietly trust God through every season. People who choose compassion when anger seems easier. People who choose forgiveness when bitterness feels justified. People who continue believing that light is stronger than darkness. That's how lives are transformed. Not all at once, but one faithful choice at a time. As you reflect on everything you've heard today, take a quiet moment, breathe deeply, and remember how far you've already come. You have survived days you once thought would break you. You've overcome obstacles you never imagined facing. You've grown stronger through challenges you didn't choose. None of those moments were wasted. Every season has been shaping your character. Every lesson has been preparing your future. Walk with peace. Walk knowing that even when the road ahead is uncertain, the one who walks beside you is faithful. And when your heart chooses faith over fear, you'll discover something beautiful. Faith in God truly can